In August 2025, a seemingly peaceful morning in the coastal city of Tacloban was shattered by shocking news. Fishermen discovered the body of a woman drifting in the sea, her limbs tied, her face covered, and heavy sacks of stones weighing her down. Just a few days earlier, a security camera had captured an unbelievable scene. A group of armed men had rushed in, overpowering and abducting a woman in broad daylight on a deserted street in Ormoc City. From that bold moment to the haunting discovery of the victim, the case instantly became the center of public outrage and disbelief when the woman was identified as Akwen Aradaza, former Miss Matag Ob, 2012. A painful question echoed everywhere: what had happened to the woman who once wore the crown? You are watching my channel where we uncover mysterious cases and untold stories. Today we will delve into a shocking case in the Philippines, the tragic fate of a former beauty queen. And as always, before we begin, please hit like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. At dawn on August 4th, 2025 in Barangay 99. Diet on the outskirts of Tacloban, a local fisherman received alarming news from his partner. A strange object was floating suspiciously off the coast of Sitio Calerio. Driven by unease and curiosity, he quickly rowed out to the site. Through the murky water, a horrifying scene appeared: the body of a woman in advanced decomposition, completely unclothed. Her limbs bound tightly with rope, and her face covered by a black cloth wrapped in layers of tape. Terrified, he immediately reported it to the authorities. Soon after, patrol officers from the Tacloban Bureau of Fisheries, along with maritime law enforcement, arrived and coordinated with the police to bring the victim ashore. The discovery site was a remote coastal area, and the estimated time of recovery was around 9 a.m. Lieutenant Ann Camasin, spokesperson of the Tacloban police, did not hesitate to describe to the press by phone: "This is a gruesome scene. The victim was tied up and her face was covered, clear signs of a brutal assault. At that time, the victim's identity was still a mystery to investigators. She was just an unfortunate woman returned by the sea." The forensic investigation was focused on the shoreline where her body had drifted. Even the most seasoned officers of Tacloban police were shaken by the disturbing state of the remains. The signs of decomposition, bloated skin, and strong odor indicated she had died several days earlier. Especially chilling was the way her body had been concealed. 2 sacks filled with stones were tied around her waist to sink her. Her neck, arms, and legs were tightly bound with thick rope, leaving deep marks on her skin. Her head was wrapped in black cloth sealed with multiple layers of blue tape. When investigators removed the covering, they were horrified to see the victim's tongue protruding and eyes bulging, strong signs of suffocation. Around her neck was a bicycle lock believed to have been used to tighten the bindings. The body had no clothing, personal belongings, or identification. It was a blatant attempt to erase all traces of identity. But one detail immediately drew attention: distinctive tattoos on her body. One on the right abdomen and several on the lower back near the waist. These became the key to identifying the victim. Police sealed the crime scene and carefully collected every piece of rope, cloth, tape, and sack for forensic examination. All of these were considered crucial evidence of an exceptionally cruel crime. The overall impression of the investigation team was one of chilling cold-bloodedness and meticulous planning. The restraints, the stones, and the covered face indicated not a spontaneous act, but a carefully prepared plan. With no direct witnesses, the body and its tattoos became the only hope in uncovering the truth. Since there were no documents, and the face was unrecognizable, identifying the victim was nearly impossible at first. Tacloban police immediately began reviewing missing persons reports in the area, hoping to find a lead. At the same time, about 62 miles away at 8 a.m. on August 4th, Patria Aradasa rushed to report that her younger sister had been abducted. Her sister Akwen Aradaza, 35 years old, resident of Barangay Valencia, Ormoc City, had been missing for 3 days after a violent incident. According to testimony, on the morning of July 31st, Akwen was standing in front of the family's grocery store in Barangay Valencia when a group of masked, armed men dressed in black subdued her. Their presence terrified bystanders, and no one dared intervene. Within seconds, the three men carried Akwane into a black Toyota Wigo with license plate ending in 1799, then sped away toward Kananga on the highway connecting Ormoc and Tacloban. A nearby security camera captured the entire abduction. After 4 long days of waiting without a ransom call or any word, the family finally reported the disappearance to the police on the morning of August 4th. The authorities quickly relayed the information to neighboring units. When the detailed description of the missing woman, a 35-year-old with distinctive tattoos on her stomach and back named Akwane, reached the Tacloban police, investigators immediately noticed the striking resemblance to a body that had just been recovered. On August 5th, a special task force composed of police officers and family members traveled to Tacloban for identification. At the funeral home, Akwane's mother and sister broke down in tears as they recognized the familiar tattoos and a C-section scar on her abdomen. Her physique and features matched perfectly. The mystery victim was no longer unknown. She was Akwane Aradasa, the woman who had vanished from Ormoc. Akwane was born and raised in Matagob, a small coastal town where she had once been crowned Miss Matagob 2012, becoming a source of pride for her community. After her reign, she moved to Ormoc to build a career working as a healthcare staffer at a private clinic, while also running her family's grocery store. A single mother of 3, she carried the family's financial burden while living with her extended relatives in Barangay Valencia. Despite the hardships, she was well loved for her kind, nature-friendly spirit and strong sense of responsibility. Her local pageant crown earned her recognition, and she frequently took part in community and charity work, embodying the image of a modern, compassionate woman. On social media, she shared snapshots of a positive life, dancing TikToks, gym routines, jogging, and vacations with friends. Her final posts showed no hint of distress, only optimism and joy. According to her younger sister, Akwane had never spoken of threats or personal disputes. Divorced for years, she had no boyfriend and focused solely on her children and work. Her sudden abduction shocked the family. The pain deepened as they recalled losing Akwane's brother just the year before in a police anti-drug operation. Their mother, Vilma Aradaza, was devastated but pushed herself to stay strong, helping police with body identification and providing vital information. Investigators immediately turned their attention to Akwane's social circle. Most witnesses described her as warm and without enemies. But her sister mentioned one curious detail on the morning of July 31st, just before the abduction. Akwane had a phone conversation with a man named Pyap Drylon, a neighbor, about a business matter. Though no solid evidence linked him yet, police placed him under questioning. Other than that lead, there was nothing to suggest debts, love rivalries, or illicit business common motives in violent crimes. Her record was spotless. That stark contrast only deepened the mystery. Why would a decent, law-abiding woman like Akwane become the target of such brutality? As soon as the identity was confirmed, a large-scale investigation was launched. Police from both Ormoc and Tacloban formed a joint task force under the direct command of Brigadier General Jamil J. Malin, Regional Police Chief of Eastern Visayas PRO 8. Simultaneous operations unfolded in Ormoc, where Akwane was abducted, and Tacloban, where her body was dumped. The probe was backed by the National Bureau of Investigation (NBI) and PNP Forensics, with twin goals: identify and capture the perpetrators and uncover their motive. Preliminary autopsy results strongly supported the theory that Akwane had been killed only a few days after the abduction. Her body bore classic signs of strangulation: deep rope marks secured with a lock, a protruding tongue, and bulging eyes. No gunshot wounds or stab injuries were found. Because the body was badly decomposed, organ checks could not confirm whether she had been drugged or poisoned. Tissue samples were sent for toxicology testing. Forensic doctors estimated the time of death at 2-3 days before discovery, likely August 1st or 2. This completely matched the level of decomposition of the recovered body, suggesting that Akwane was most likely murdered within just a day or two after being kidnapped. The perpetrator then tied the body with ropes, placed stones into a sack, and threw it into the sea in an attempt to make it sink forever. However, gases produced during decomposition caused the body to resurface after a few days, despite the added weight of the stones. Forensic examiners also paid special attention to searching for the killer's biological traces. Nail and hair samples were collected from the body for DNA testing, though the chances of obtaining useful results were quite low, since the body had been submerged for some time. Police also preserved pieces of evidence such as ropes, duct tape, black fabric, and the sack to examine their origins. On the duct tape that covered the victim's face, experts discovered several short black hairs believed to belong to one of the perpetrators since the victim's hair was long. These samples were sent for forensic testing. Similarly, inside the black cloth wrapped around the face, investigators found a faint fingerprint which was submitted for analysis and comparison against the National Criminal Database. The most important clue from the Ormoc crime scene remained the CCTV footage of the abduction. After reviewing the short clip, police realized that the kidnappers acted extremely quickly and professionally. They chose a moment when the street was deserted and completed the operation in just about 20 seconds from the approach to the getaway. All three suspects wore dark clothing, black jackets, and hooded masks. One held what appeared to be a handgun to intimidate the victim and bystanders. After forcing the victim into the back seat, another suspect entered the car to restrain her, while the remaining two sat in the front. The car immediately sped off without headlights or sirens to avoid drawing attention. From the video, police identified the vehicle as a black Toyota Wigo with license plate ending in 1799. Registration records revealed thousands of vehicles across the Philippines with the same last four digits. In the Cananga-Tacloban area alone, more than 30 black Wigos had been registered in the past 5 years. Police coordinated with the Department of Transportation to track and eliminate possible matches. However, the possibility that the license plate was fake or that the car had been stolen was also considered. In fact, LTO records showed no exact registration matching the 1799 plate in Ormoc, further suggesting the kidnappers used a counterfeit plate. What was clear, however, was the type of vehicle and its escape route. Several witnesses along the road reported seeing a black Wigo speeding toward Cananga shortly after the kidnapping. Cananga lies on the only road leading to Tacloban, where the body was later discovered nearby. From Cananga, the car could have reached Tacloban in just under 3 hours. Traffic cameras in Tacloban captured footage of a small black car entering the city limits around noon on July 31st. Although the image was too unclear to confirm the plate number, the timing and route matched perfectly with the suspect's movements. This led investigators to believe the kidnappers had taken the victim from Ormoc to Tacloban on July 31st and either detained or killed her near Tacloban before dumping the body into the sea. Based on the developments of the case, police sketched a preliminary profile of the perpetrators. At least 3 men organized and premeditated. Their preparation of vehicles, weapons, and disposal tools indicated that they were skilled in kidnapping, acted swiftly, subdued the victim efficiently, and chose a rational escape route. The readiness of stones, ropes, sacks, and duct tape for disposing of the body also suggested this was not their first crime. Police did not rule out the possibility that the culprits were part of a professional crime syndicate operating across provinces, since gangs were known to be active in surrounding areas. The theory of robbery was ruled out immediately since the victim was not wealthy or flashy, and the family never received any ransom demand. The hypothesis related to sexual assault also became vague because if that had been the sole purpose, the perpetrator could have committed the crime on the spot and fled without the need to take the victim far away and dispose of the body so meticulously. Investigators believe the incident was more likely a deliberate execution. The victim was killed for a personal reason or to conceal some secret. The police also noted similarities between this case and the earlier disappearance of 34 people in Samar, where victims were abducted, tied inside sacks, and drowned in lakes. This raised suspicions about the involvement of individuals with professional training, such as former soldiers or ex-police officers. However, no concrete evidence has yet been found to connect the two cases. At the same time, witnesses were gathered for detailed questioning. Some people living near the victim's family grocery store recalled that on the morning of July 31st, they heard a brief scream followed by a car speeding away. They could not see the license plate or identify the attackers, as they were masked and armed. Interestingly, the witnesses also mentioned that in the days prior, several unfamiliar young men had been loitering around the victim's house, but no one paid much attention. Based on the vague descriptions, the police sketched the suspects, at least two strange men around 30-40 years old, strong-build, dark-skinned, with an unfamiliar accent not from Ormoc. These details reinforced the theory that the perpetrators came from elsewhere, had been monitoring the target in advance, and struck when the time was right. Since Akwene Aradaza lived a rather private life and had no obvious enemies, the police focused on two potential leads, a man named Pai Ap Drilon, whom she had contacted just before her disappearance, and her ex-husband, the father of her 3 children. The ex-husband was quickly ruled out after presenting solid evidence of his whereabouts on the morning of July 31st. However, Payap Drilon, a man in his 40s who lived in the same neighborhood and was believed to be the last person to speak with Akwene before the abduction, became particularly suspicious. According to the victim's younger sister, Payap Drilon had arranged to meet Akwene for business discussions, but the kidnapping occurred right before the meeting. Most puzzling of all, Payap Drilon mysteriously vanished from his residence from July 31st onward. Ormoc police admitted they had yet to locate him for questioning, and were actively searching. Was Payap Drilon merely a decoy used to lure Akwene out of her house, or was he himself another indirect victim of the criminal group? His disappearance made him a key suspect requiring clarification. With all other leads weak, the police employed every investigative method. They examined Akwene's phone records and confirmed that on the morning of July 31st, she had called Payap Drilon's number. After that, her phone signal completely vanished, most likely switched off or discarded by the kidnappers. The police requested data from telecom providers to check the location history and whether the victim's SIM card had been inserted into another phone after July 31st, but no results were found. This supported the theory that the phone had been destroyed immediately. Furthermore, during the retrieval of the body, the Coast Guard divers found an empty sack and a piece of rope matching the material used to bind and dispose of the victim. These items were sent for forensic examination. Investigators remain cautious about the theory that the killer was someone close to Akwene. Although she was well-liked, the possibility cannot be ruled out that she was the target of jealousy, resentment, or involved in a secret relationship. Her social media accounts were closely examined, especially for suspicious messages or negative comments. Some anonymous offensive remarks on her Facebook are being traced back to their IP addresses. A psychological crime angle is also being considered. An extreme murder like this often stems from a strong motive such as deep hatred. Akwene's family could not think of anyone who held such a grudge against her, but they feared her death might be linked to her brother Eros Aradaza, who was killed during a drug raid last year. Although there is no solid evidence yet, police do not rule out the possibility that Eros's fate indirectly led to this tragedy, perhaps as revenge from his associates. Given the seriousness of the case, the mayors of Ormoc and Tacloban set up a hotline to receive tips. The Philippine Department of Justice was briefed and expressed special concern. The case drew nationwide media attention from major newspapers to television networks, spreading details about the suspect's car and clothing, and urging the public to share CCTV footage. One clip showing a black car with 3 men passing through Jaro further supported the suspect's escape route. Meanwhile, Akwene's family anxiously sought justice. Her mother appeared on television pleading for help, even reaching out to Senator Rafi Tulfo in hopes of raising public pressure. Colonel May Bella Rentuaya, spokesperson of Eastern Visayas Police, reassured the public that all necessary manpower and resources were being mobilized to capture the perpetrators. By August 13, 2025, no suspects had been arrested, but the investigation had made some progress. The victim was identified, the sequence of events confirmed through CCTV and witnesses, and the crime established as a deliberate act. This raised public concern as the dangerous gang remained at large. One investigator admitted bluntly, until they are caught, no one can guarantee they won't strike again. A painful lesson was also drawn: the family's delay in reporting cost valuable time to intercept the kidnappers. Police stressed that if the report had been made on July 31st, checkpoints might have stopped the car. This hesitation, caused by fear and fragile hope, was analyzed by newspapers to highlight the importance of immediate reporting in abduction cases. The investigation pressed forward with high determination. Every clue, from strands of hair fingerprints, the Wego car registry, to the victim's personal connections, was carefully pieced together. Police believed that once one link surfaced, the entire plot and masterminds would be exposed. For now, the specific identities of the perpetrators remain unknown. However, once captured, the case would be elevated to regional level, likely centered in Tacloban, identified as the primary crime scene. Prosecutors are expected to charge the suspects with 2 major crimes: armed kidnapping and murder with aggravating circumstances. Under the Philippine Penal Code, both crimes carry a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. If convicted, the defendants could face multiple consecutive life sentences. The kidnapping and murder of former beauty queen Aquain Aradaza shocked the Philippines in August 2025, drawing national and international media attention. The public was horrified by the brutality, fearing for community safety, especially for women and public figures. Media compared the crime to a real-life horror movie. The image of Aquain Aradaza, a resilient single mother, intensified public sympathy, increasing pressure on authorities. The Department of Justice and National Police pledged justice. Some politicians even proposed reinstating the death penalty. Local governments stepped up patrols, installed more CCTV, and women's groups demanded investigation into possible femicide. The Human Rights Commission monitored the process to prevent cover-ups or delays. The case revealed the boldness of organized crime and served as a warning for heightened vigilance. Technology and community efforts played a crucial role. Thanks to CCTV footage and timely reports from fishermen, police were able to trace key leads. The funeral in her hometown of Mata Ormoc drew hundreds of mourners. Friends continued demanding justice until the killers are caught. The case remains full of mysteries, beginning with the motive, the possible mastermind, and the roles of those involved. The manhunt is still ongoing, and the lesson we can take away is the importance of staying vigilant, applying technology, protecting vulnerable groups, and upholding the rule of law to safeguard both trust and justice. What are your thoughts on this case? Please leave a comment below so we can discuss it together. And before you leave, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next cases on this channel.